With respect to the mental health concerns of the recording artist in question and any nastiness that they may have spewed as a result of it, I still think that this debut album is a commendable classic and one of the more entertaining public transport entertainment releases of all time. I will still state that the new workout plan going into Slow Jamz is the most entertaining, exciting sequencing of almost anything in the 2000s. Such a luscious and involving odyssey, it reminds me of the best of those brilliant 1970s odysseys, a Quadrophenia or a Lamb Lies Down on Broadway. Perhaps Joe's Garage is the most apt comparison here by Frank Zappa. But then I think hip-hop took up that mantle when you had albums like Liquid Swords in the 1990s, or what, I guess to some degree what albums like Operation Doomsday were attempting, or even Illmatic, really. The quasi-sample-delia reliance of this album's production is so engrossing. I would compare it to some of the greatest work accomplished on Primal Scream's Screamadelica, as well as one of my absolute favourites, I think one of everyone's absolute favourites, certainly one of the very best releases from my country of origin, The Avalanche's Since I Left You. College Dropout comes out 4 years afterward, and it's a worthy hip-hop experiment within that particular sample-delia paradigm. This had been obviously experimented heavily within hip-hop prior. I think the laws which had passed in, I guess some point prior to Midnight Marauders, because Tribe Called Quest were speaking about it in the lyrics on that album. Of course, the circumstances of this album's recording, there was probably much more budget and resources allowed to secure the sample rights as opposed to even a Tribe Called Quest in the early 90s. Groups like the Avalanches resorted to extensive crate digging, and am I happy that they did. College Dropout, meanwhile, comes across as this culmination, this phenomenal celebration of the history of recorded R&B music. It's really an extraordinary listen. My favourite of the four Kanye West albums of the 2000s is actually Graduation. It most reflects, I love that particular era in the later 2000s. It kind of just prior to the GFC, or maybe if you're young enough or in Australia, you weren't really aware of the GFC or it didn't directly affect your life in some ways, and so like that later 2000s period, it seemed like, okay, the early 2000s, there were some hang-ups, some violence which made it appear as though it wasn't going to be the century we all hoped. But the later 2000s, it seems, okay, maybe by the 2010s we'll achieve a great little quasi-utopia, which totally didn't come about, but it was nice. Circa 2007 Graduation, it seems like an interesting era, a fun era. But College Dropout 2, that 2004 moment when, Mark Fisher's in his early 30s on K-Punk, and we'll get to that in a moment, actually. What I'd like to do now, actually, for the time being, I'd like to read out some of the very early reviews of the College Dropout from Rate Your Music, starting with the first one here, Godson14 on April 1st, 2004. For most artists who are discovered behind the mixing boards, making the transfer from producer to MC proves a daunting task. Fortunately for Kanye West, his verbal skills more than rise to the challenge of his consistently superior beats. A sprawling concept record that tackles issues of everyday life with wisecracking humor and unexpected honesty, The College Dropout confirms West's status as one of hip-hop's most refreshing voices. The lead-off single, Through the Wire, perfectly exemplifies West's distinct vision. Recorded while his jaws were still wired shut after a near-fatal car accident, West hilariously reflects upon his predicament over a sped-up Chaka Khan sample. Other songs address potentially somber topics: ghetto life, We Don't Care, religion, Jesus Walks, and family turmoil, family business, yet somehow retain a truly hopeful spirit. Although The College Dropout features top-notch cameos from Talib Kweli, Common, Mos Def, Freeway, Jay-Z, Ludacris, and Twista, it's clearly West's show. I recommend this for anyone who loves music, and I recommend it deeply for the heads who hate it, because you might just have something to change. How about Robin Carmody on April 29th, 2004? There aren't many hip-hop albums which instinctively people will talk about 15 years down the line, like they now talk about Nation of Millions. 10 years down the line, they now talk about Enter the Wu-Tang 36 Chambers. He was right about that, certainly. Winter 03-04 saw two such albums, which is the most you can really expect in any season. The Black Album, I Don't Care What Anyone Says, it's Jay-Z's finest work, and The College Dropout. Both are born out of a realization that, at this time of all times, the tedious black-on-black war has to end, that somehow the gulf between commercial and undie has to be bridged, and that hip-hop can't join I think it was misspelling of indie, but has to be bridged, and that hip-hop can join with Black America as a whole in focusing on and somehow removing the real enemy, the Bush administration. I personally doubt whether the divide within hip-hop would have become so strong from January 1993 to January 2001 had Republicans been in power during that time. Had it been Bush Sr. or worse rather than Clinton, Black Americans simply wouldn't have been able to afford it, and to an extent they paid the price when neocon insurgents first hit. So just as Jay-Z has repented for his old quasi-fascist bullishness, one of his most frequent producers/collaborators, among much else, Kanye West, has done what might have been seen as impossible a year ago. He's got Ludacris rhyming on an album which is unashamedly conscious and openly political for much of its length, and it's got a top 10 US pop hit off that album whose hook line, "We had it all, but it all falls down," bleeds the tears of the disenfranchised of Florida 2000. His previous hit, Through the Wire, also now a UK top 10 hit, which surprised and delighted me, is glorious, and other highlights include Jesus Walks, Don't Be Put Off by the Title, and the stunning return of favour from Jay-Z on Never Let Me Down. Deeply necessary in election year, and a masterpiece in its own right, taking in every conceivable aspect of the black experience. Hip-hop needed Kanye West to come through like this, and every hope we could have ever had for him, and hip-hop as a whole, has been fulfilled. A throwdown to the egos, 50 Cent above all others, who think they're bigger than hip-hop itself. Raise your game, learn your history, cross the borders, be aware. A throwdown equally to those who are merely happy to rhyme about their cats over Order beats, as someone once said. Raise your game, too. A great record. I'd also like to read out this particular Astral Week's August 31st, 2004. Sometimes a rap album comes around that is so vital that it is truly a shame to ignore it. Kanye West hit the nail on the head this time. Instead of making a stupid, cliche-filled album about corny gangster shit, he made an album that the normal person can actually relate to. He covers topics from growing up, racism, to religion, all with top-notch production and lyrics that don't feel tiresome. He's also got the #1 guaranteed club hit of 2004, Slow Jamz, a tribute to past musicians that made love making R&B so popular. Of course, the whole album doesn't work. The skits get a little tiresome, and when he tries to be gangster, get 'em high, it just don't sound right. But the pros definitely outweigh the cons. So far, probably the best rap album of the 2000s. The album itself isn't perfect, but the imperfection is what makes the album great. Some of the tracks get a little tired, but on the whole, I get where Kanye was coming from, and I admire his ambition. And finally, from Rate Your Music, G-O-Z, September 16th, 2007, a few years on. Upon his signing to Jay-Z and Dame Dash's label, producer-turned-rapper Kanye West proclaimed himself the Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer of the rock. Kanye hit it right on the head. Let's go back to late 2003. Following the release of the Black Album, Jay-Z announced his retirement from the rap game. We knew he'd be back, but that's another story. Jigga and Damon assured us that they would have someone fill the void that the former left. Could the disgruntled Cuban cigar carrier Memphis Bleak finally get his shine? Or perhaps Rockefeller strong-arm beanie cycle? Or maybe New Kids on the Block, Young Guns? Nope, it ain't none of them. It's the guy that produced Izzo, H-O-V-A. First of all, since when did that guy rap? Second of all, why is a rapper producer replacing Jay-Z? We've all heard less than impressive raps from the likes of Swizz Beatz, Timbaland, Puffy, Pete Rock, and Jay Dilla. Third of all, what the fuck is with this guy? He ain't from Marcy or South Philly. He's a suburban upper-middle-class kid from Chicago. And where's his throwback jersey and saggy jeans? Why is he dressing so fruity with the pink polo shirt, backpack, and Louis Vuitton bag? That's right, Jay-Z fans. Hov's passing the torch to motherfucking Carlton Banks from Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Who makes these decisions? Marketing geniuses, that's who. Jigga and Damon knew how much cash they could reap from Kanye's sudden presence and mystique. The public skepticism turned into optimistic curiosity when they heard Through the Wire. Mr. H to the Izzo can rap after all, and instead of getting shot, he got a metal plate in his jaw after a near-fatal car crash. Let's all remember, with the arrival of Kanye West, the media took more interest because they acted like they've never heard a rapper not talk about guns and drugs before. Apparently a Tribe Called Quest, De La Soul, Common, Talib Kweli, Mos Def, Outkast, etc. never existed. Which all of this hype built up, this new dude, Kanye West, better show and prove. Don't worry, he certainly does, in sales and in quality. Sales don't matter in a review, so I'll talk about the quality of Kanye West's debut, The College Dropout. I'll start with the production. For all two of you that haven't heard this album yet, the beats suck. I'm kidding. As everybody knows, The College Dropout updated the soul sampling style the RZA did years ago and made into something brand new. Just in case you forgot, this album created what is arguably the most popular production style of the 2000s, the sped-up chipmunk sampling thing. As annoying as that style has become, the OG chipmunk style here still sounds as fresh as ever. Actually, I'm very surprised how well these beats have aged over the years, considering that other bootleg Kanye beats are already beginning to sound dated, even beats from the more acclaimed producers from a few years ago, like Ninth Wonder. The chipmunk/soul thing is the only label you can put on Kanye's production here. Other than that, the beats are highly unique, original, accessible to different audiences, and just well produced. There's a good reason that so many producers beat Kanye's style after this. Kanye may have given good beats to Jay-Z, the Rockefeller Weed Carriers, and Talib Kweli, but he saved the best beats for himself. That's all I need to say about that. Now his raps. Jay-Z and Dem Dash have been priding Kanye as a producer that raps better than most rappers. How good is Kanye exactly? Most people emphasize that Mr. West ain't the best rapper. I think that's underrating him a little bit. He's no Lord Finesse, but I personally think Kanye is tight. He has a great flow, commanding voice, and witty lines. I would say that in the College Dropout's case, Kanye falls somewhere in between the RZA and Diamond D when it comes to rapping producers. Lyrically, Kanye talks about different things. Even though the term backpacker was probably coined because of Kanye, he's not the most cliché non-gangster rapper in the world, even though he dressed nerdier than said rapper. Kanye does brag about his skills, every MC does, but he doesn't have any songs that blast whack MCs and sellouts or anything. And even though he doesn't diss women, he's not afraid to use the word hoe, and instead of looking for that Nubian princess with the afro that writes poetry, reads a lot, and doesn't eat meat or dairy, he's a horny girl chaser. Most rapper producers are. And Kanye won't act like he's not materialistic either. This cat does like him some nice name brand clothes, cash, and fancy cars. If you didn't know it by his nickname, Louis Vuitton Don, his line in Breathe In, Breathe Out confirms it. Now I'm rapping about money, hoes, and rims again. But Kanye doesn't stay occupied on cliche, megalomaniacal, no-limit/cash money subject matter. This brother can be deep too. Check the songs All Falls Down, Spaceship, Jesus Walks, Never Let Me Down, and Family Business. The songs Through the Wire and Last Call offer some interesting introspection as well. And unlike a lot of conscious rappers, Kanye doesn't fall into the box hole in which he can't have shameless fun without pissing fans off. Ye has his gags on We Don't Care, Get 'Em High, and the new workout plan, Breathe In, Breathe Out, and School Spirit. All of this show how very down-to-earth and charming Kanye West is. That's right, I said Kanye West is down-to-earth and charming. The guests here are pretty cool too. Jay-Z holds it down, Ludacris does a hook, the singers that did hooks give this album more soul, Talib Kweli, Common, GLC, Twista, and Consequence hold it down as well. And how cool is it that Kanye put Mos Def and Freeway on the same song and made that shit classic? I can already picture another little ill posse cut featuring Common and Beanie Siegel, lol. Going back to all the hype surrounding this album and my review up to this point, The College Dropout sounds like a classic, right? Yup, it is. The College Dropout has aged incredibly well. As the years went by, I found myself liking it more and more. Yeah, the new workout plan is novelty and out of place, but it's cute enough to not be a bad song. I love that song. Yeah, the skits aren't all that either, but they're not enough to topple the overall quality of the songs. Shit, at least they're not oral sex skits. I'm talking to you, Biggie. I recommend to any fan of music that has no kind of anti-Kanye bias whatsoever. A lot of people tend to judge Kanye on his award show misadventures instead of his music, so a lot of people hate this guy. He's drunken, I should have won this bullshit award instead of insert bullshit pop artist here, give a black man a chance rants annoy me too, but I think it's silly to judge a person's music based on their non-music activities. I don't care how much of an ass, prick, or moron a musician is as long as her music is good. That's my opinion anyway. Oh well. Congratulations to Rockefeller Records, Jay-Z is left free to take a hiatus with a new artist to keep the money and fame rolling in. It's also written here, Memphis Bleak grits his teeth while dusting Kanye's platinum plaque. I'd also like to read out the K-Punk reaction to this album, April 8th, 2004. Album of the Year. Matt's so right. The Kanye West LP is a masterpiece. Only the Junior Boys LP is remotely in its class this year. I'm hooked. He is as sweetly addictive as Al Green or Julie Cruz or Scritty Circa Cupid and Psyche. Highlights. With its juxtaposition of celestial longing and hypernaturalist kineticism, Spaceship is in many ways the album's signature track. Kanye is working a two-bit job, this grave shift, like the slave ship, idly fantasizing about fleeing the planet. You could hear it as an earthbound elegy for the cosmic escapism of Funkadelic and Parliament, their dreams of interplanetary lines of flight as exploded as the Challenger space shuttle in the face of thousands' dreary realism. The samples, like Rave's speeded up samples of yore, Kanye's trademark technique of pitching up vox, which are typically taken from 70s soul, has the effect of both dehumanizing and ultra-feminizing his vocal sources. The result is literally divine. West restores ecstasy to its sense of religious rapture. The Marvin Gaye sample in Spaceship, The Trembling Heaven Knows, is a shiver liver of pure yearning, both a reproach to human limitations and a breaching of them. The gorgeous Luther Vandross steel in Slow Jamz, it's gonna be, well, and the Chaka Khan sample in Through the Wire, you already know about. The lovely Michael Bolton reconstruction on Never Let Me Down, you've probably already heard about. Its diffuse eroticism, as Jamie Foxx establishes in his introduction, Slow Jamz is a song attuned to women's desire. In place of Crunk's scopo necrophiliac libido, synergetically fused with porn's testicular thermodynamics, Kanye slow cooks his grooves to simulate/stimulate the simmering anticlimactic waves of female desire. Its words, if you think Slow Jamz and Through the Wire are mellifluously poignant, wait till we hear Syleena Johnson's throaty plaint on All Falls Down. This has all the what's going on acuity claimed for the Black Eyed Peas, Where is the Love, minus the preachy piety. The College Dropout never has a simple message, an easy moral. Indeed, its attacks on education are frankly puzzling. Miri Ben-Ari's vertiginous, cakewalk, crazy string arrangements heard to best effect on Workout, an alternative universe's version of DJ Caspar's Cha-Cha Slide. Just when you think it's reached its peak of funhouse frenzy, Kanye throws in a lascivious Zap-style Vedota. Great stuff. Fun album.